Hey, cousins. It is Tatiana Marie, also known as Peaches. I am the executive director of Peace, Love, and Light. And right now, I am coming to you from two platforms. I am, of course, on my YouTube channel, and I am also on Facebook. So, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for joining us if you are watching this live. Also, thank you for joining us if you are watching this recording. And I had mentioned last week that I was going to go live, but I actually had some issues with my left eye. Today, I have some issues with my right eye, but I said I am going to go ahead and proceed forward. So, if you are new to Peace of and Light, if you are new to my platforms, let me just give you a little bit of background about me. I show others the way to live in healthier and happier lives. I do so by offering a variety of holistic services. I target underprivileged and underserved communities. My business started in the community of Slavic Village, Ohio, which is where I reside. And I have graciously been able to expand my services throughout Cuyahoga County since I started in 2021. When I first started, I did have a co-founder, and we decided to part ways and just to go into separate ventures. And since then, I really feel like my family, cousins, and friends have helped me to keep Peace, Love, and Light going. I have a variety of volunteers, and like I said, just friends, family, and cousins, which is what I call my followers that have helped me to keep things going. And um, a big part of what I do is mental health awareness. That is definitely something that brought me to the practice of yoga, and it's something that I think that we definitely need in underprivileged and underserved communities, especially because in those communities a lot of people have a lot of social economic barriers that prevent them from living a healthy and active lifestyle, and mental health is definitely one of those barriers for a variety of reasons. I'm definitely excited that we have organizations like SAMHSA that kind of help to highlight the fact that a lot of people that have mental health issues have dual diagnosis, which means that they have some sort of substance or alcohol use that can impact their mental health. And until you are able to tackle both of those things, you are going to struggle not just with your mental health, but also to again with your emotional health, with your financial health, with your environmental health. All of those things are going to be impacted until you can address your mental health, and if you do have any substance use disorders, until that is addressed. So my background is growing up in a household where I had a parent, well, actually I had both of my parents struggle with substance use. One of those parents was able to go into treatment and has been sober for over 20 years. And my other parent, my father, he passed away. And I'm proud to say that he was almost 30 days sober when he passed away. But his alcohol use is what contributed to his death. And so growing up in that household is definitely giving me a personal insight into the struggles of substance use, but also it's giving me insight into mental health disorder, mental health issues, mental health crises, and how they can affect your ability to live a healthy life. So, what does this have to do with leadership? Since starting Peace, Love, and Light, what I have came to realize is that we all take on the role of a leader in our social lives, in our families, in our communities, in school, at work. And with leadership comes a lot of stress. And a big part of what I do is I spread peace, love, and light. That's why I named my company that. And understanding that a lot of people struggle with loving others because they really haven't properly learned how to love themselves. And so, what is love? Love is an emotion. So, to me, the best way to help people to get a better understanding of what mental health is, what love is just to start educating people on the various emotions and what they look like in the physical body, what they feel like in the emotional body and the spiritual body, and then motivating people to go out into the community and to practice the skills that we're going to learn, and also to recognize when someone in their community, in their family, is having a mental health crisis. A lot of what the book that we'll be reading is, which is Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. I'm sorry. This book, it highlights a lot of stories that I won't necessarily go over because I think that if you watch the news, if you are on social media and you see things like the remembrance page and so on and so forth, we all have different stories that we can relate to, and how mental health played a role in the loss of someone's life, which is extremely unfortunate, and how if people had better emotional skills, how a life could have been saved if it was a loss due to suicide or a murder, by a family member or even by a police officer. Like I said, I think we all have our own unique stories that we can relate to. So, um, first and foremost, what I would like to do is just to review the four pillars of emotional intelligence, which are self awareness, which is the ability to understand your emotions and how well and how they affect others, self management, which is the ability to process, control, and compartmentalize your emotions so that they don't harm your work, social awareness, which is the ability to tune into what others are thinking and feeling, and then relationship management, which is the ability to negotiate the complexities of social environments. So, the reason why I thought it was really important for us to start reading together is, although I have my bachelor's in science, health, and wellness, I would not quite consider myself an expert just yet. Okay. I'm new to the field. I'm branching out. I'm doing my own scientific research as far as the work that I've been doing in the community. And one thing that I learned in school that was kind of drilled in my head is the importance of using peer reviewed research whenever you are giving advice or giving lectures or working with the public. For one, because it shows and it acknowledges the fact that you realize you don't have all of the facts. But also, using peer review work gives an opportunity to use information that is fact checked, okay? And not just by AI on social media, but by other individuals who work in the field and who have studied diligently to show that they have not just the education, but the experience that it takes to do this type of work. So, Daniel Goldman, he is, let's go here to the book. So, because I don't want to misquote. He is a psychologist. He's also a science journalist. Okay, he is a founding member of the board of Mind and Life Institute, and he's also a co founder of the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. And he's a co director of the Consortium for Research on Emotional Intelligence in Organizations, which means that he specializes in helping people to develop emotional intelligence. So, to me, I couldn't think of a better person to take this advice from. So, even though I'm recording this live, the reason why I'm putting this on my YouTube and on Facebook is because I want to start creating content that some of the individuals that I work with in the community can go to and just refer to whenever they are experiencing stressful situations, whenever they may be having a mental health crisis. Because there are going to be times where I'm busy and they may not be able to reach me, or just times where they just want to be able to sit down and listen to a lecture. And also, one of the statistics that people may not know is that about 60% of the adults in Cuyahoga County read at a sixth grade level. And so a lot of the materials for emotional intelligence and um, books in those categories are written for individuals like myself that have graduated from college, and that's unfortunate because it leaves out other individuals who may be interested in learning this information, but they may struggle to read some of the words or to comprehend some of the information that's being presented, because again, they haven't studied this material outside of college. And sometimes I struggle with some of the words. Okay. So, with that being said, we are going to be starting from page 4. So, I have pre highlighted some sections and I will just be reading those sections. And at the end, I have some questions that I'm going to put up. So, kind of the goal for this group will be to read some inserts from the book and then to give the audience some questions that we can kind of go over, just so that I can ensure that everyone is comprehending the information that we're going over. Okay. And also it'll give everybody the opportunity to share how what we're reviewing relates to them in their everyday life. So, chapter 1 starts with talking about what are emotions for. Okay. Our emotions, they say, guide us in facing predicaments and tasks too important to leave to intellect alone. Danger, painful loss, persisting toward a goal despite frustrations, bonding with a mate, building a family. Each emotion offers a distinctive readiness to act. Each points us in a direction that has worked well to handle the recurring challenges of human life. As these eternal situations were repeated and repeated over our evolutionary history, the survival value of our emotional repertoire was attested to by its becoming imprinted in our nerves as innate automatic tendencies of the human heart. A view of human nature that ignores the power of emotions is sadly short sighted. The very name Homo sapiens, the thinking species, is misleading in light of the new appreciation and version of the place of emotions in our lives that science now offers. As we all know from experience, when it comes to shaping our decisions and our actions, feelings count every bit as much and often more than thought. We have gone too far in emphasizing the value and importance of the purely rational of what IQ measures in human life. For better or worse, intelligence can come to nothing when the emotions hold sway. So, we're going to pause right there. So, in these two paragraphs, what the author is telling us is that our emotions are there to assist us when the wisdom of what we know and what we have been taught doesn't work well enough. So, a perfect example of that is you're walking down the street and you see a loose dog. Now, you've never seen this dog before, and I don't care how many times you have had interactions with dogs, I don't care if you are a dog owner, you don't know how this interaction is going to end. If the dog is going to be friendly and come up to you for a kiss or looking for some food, or if this dog is vicious and is going to come and try to attack you. So, the first emotion that you may have, you may get an adrenaline rush and you may become fearful. Well, that fear is valid. That fear could actually save you from danger, okay? And so, your reaction to that fear may be to take off running. However, your reaction can be a lot of different things, but this instinct is something that has been imprinted in our nervous system over time from the history of humans encountering wild animals and having to make those life or death decisions in an instant. Now, when you learn how to control your emotions and when you learn more about emotional intelligence, you may realize just because your heart is racing and just because you're experiencing fear, it doesn't mean that it's always a valid time to run or feel that you're in danger, okay? And also, you start to learn how to control those impulses. So now we're going to move along to page 6. All emotions are, in essence, impulses to act, the instant plans for handling life that evolution has instilled in us. The very root of the word emotion is motere, the Latin verb to move, plus the prefix e to connate, move away, suggesting that a tendency to act is implicit in every emotion. See, that's just what I was discussing. That emotions lead to actions is most obvious in watching animals or children. It is only in civilized adults we so often find the great anomaly in the animal kingdom. Emotions root impulses to act, divorced from obvious reaction. In our emotional repertoire, each emotion plays a unique role as revealed by their distinctive biological signatures. With new methods to peer into the body and brain, researchers are discovering more physiological details of how each emotion prepares the body for a very different kind of response. So, we're going to pause right here. If you've ever come to one of my yoga classes, or if you have watched my yoga class that I have online, you will notice that I have a body scan meditation. And during this meditation, I like to kind of guide my students from their toes all the way up to their crown and help them just to recognize how they store emotions in the body. And we store emotions in the body because as we have an emotion, first of all, they start with a thought. So when we have a thought, it triggers an emotion. And when that emotion is triggered, it triggers hormones to be released into the body. And so a lot of people know about adrenaline, but we have a variety of other hormones. And each hormone correlates with a different part of the body. And so as those hormones are released, they actually get stored in the body if you don't utilize them. So let's say you experience a fearful moment, but you don't run, you don't jump, you don't do anything that will release those emotions. Well, they end up getting stored in the body and they lead to dis-ease or sickness, chronic illness. So, this is what the author is referring to when he says how researchers are discovering more physiological details of how the emotions prepares the body for very different kind of responses. So, this is why a lot of people so we'll get into this, but a lot of people, when they get upset, they say things like they're seeing red or they're getting ready to crash out. there is actual science behind why we do what we do when we experience emotions. So this author, he goes through a variety of emotions. We won't cover all of them today, but some of them that I highlighted, I think a lot of people will relate to. So the first one is anger. With anger, blood flows to the hands, making it easier to grasp a weapon or strike at a foe. Heart rate increases, and a rush of hormones such as adrenaline generates a pulse of energy strong enough for vigorous action. With fear, blood goes to the large skeletal muscles, such as in the legs, making it easier to flee and making the face blanch as blood is shuddered away from it. At the same time, the body freezes, if only for a moment, perhaps allowing time to gauge whether hiding might be a better reaction. Circuits in the brain's emotional centers trigger a flood of emotions that put the body on general alert, making it edgy and ready for action. And attention fixates on the threat at hand, the better to evaluate what response to make. All right. And so again, those are just two different emotions, but I feel like a lot of people can relate to being angry and having your fist balled up. So, why is it important to understand that that is a natural reaction? Because understanding that there are scientific reasons behind why we act the way we do, it gives us an opportunity to learn how to correct that behavior. Because for every action, there is an opposite or equal reaction. Okay, so yes, you may have blood flowing to your hands and you may find yourself forming a fist. But you can give yourself the time and space to do things like some breathing exercises that can help bring that heart rate down, that can help pull that blood away from the hands, allow you to relax, and that also will give you the opportunity to change your course of action. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to work in every single situation, but I'm just giving you an understanding of, while yes, your heart rate may increase when you get angry, but there's also some things that we can do to help to bring down that heart rate, to control that impulsive reaction that we normally experience during those times. And like I said, the same thing goes for fear. So again, we talked about when you see that loose dog, you may get fearful, and blood is going to go to the larger skeletal muscles like in the legs, which will give you the energy, that spurt of energy that you need to take off running. But we also realize that running may not be the best solution when you see a wild dog, because if you take off running, that dog may take off running too. And guess what? If you're not physically fit, that dog may outrun you. So again, just because you have that burst of energy, you may want to take some time to do some quick breathing exercises, give yourself a little bit of time and space to think about, like, even if you are going to run, where is the best route to run to, okay? So now we're going to move along to page 7, and we're getting towards the end of today's reading. These biological propensities to act are shaped further by our life experience and our culture. For instance, universally, the loss of a loved one elicits sadness and grief. But how we show our grieving, how emotions are displayed or held back for private moments, is molded by culture, as are which, again, tongue tied. Okay, I'll start this sentence over. But how we show our grieving, how emotions are displayed or held back for private moments, is molded by culture, as are which particular people in our lives fall into the category of loved ones to be mourned. The protracted period of evolution when these emotional responses were hammered into shape was certainly a harsher reality than most humans endured as a species after the dawn of recorded history. It was a time when few infants survived to childhood and few adults to 30 years, when predators could strike at any moment, when the verges of doubt and floods meant that differences between starvation and survival. But with the coming of agriculture and even the most rudimentary human societies, the odds for survival began to change dramatically. In the last 10,000 years, when these advances took hold throughout the world, the fierceness pressures that had held the human population in check eased steadily. Those same pressures had made our emotional responses so valuable for survival. As they waned, so did the goodness of fit of parts of our emotional repertoire. While in the ancient past, a hair trigger anger may have offered a crucial edge for survival, the availability of automatic weaponry to 13-year-olds has made it too often a disastrous reaction. So I decided that stopping there was a good talking point for today. So what we have learned is that science is starting to learn more and more about how our emotions happen. And by happen, we mean what triggers the responses that we have. And so, learning what triggers that gives us an opportunity to learn how to avoid these impulsive natures that have been like embedded in us from eons ago. Okay. So much of the way that we respond to our emotions is also embedded in our culture, which means the neighborhoods that you grow up in, the societies that you live in, even the country that you live in, because I know I have viewers around the world. And each country has its own set of rules, just like each culture has its own set of unwritten rules that are followed. And we have different ways of responding to things. And so, what I would like for us to do is start learning a better way to respond to the afflictive and the negative emotions, okay? Also, a better way to respond to the good emotions too, but we'll get into that a different day. So, um, I also wrote down because I'll put the like I said I'll put the questions in the comment section so that we can continue this conversation together. But one of the things that I want to start doing is tying together the religious aspect of why I do what I do. So I know for a lot of people, religion has become something that it's just hard to relate to because we don't have a strong connection with spirit for a lot of reasons, like because of our diet, like because of pollution in the air and environment, so on and so forth, and not having our social economic needs met. But what the Bible talks about is so relevant today, just as relevant as it was in the time of Jesus and the time of Noah. And what I really love is how books like this just help to expand on things in the Bible. So, one of the verses that I want us to reflect on for today's reading is Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 14. And in the New International Version, it says Jerusalem. Wash the evil from your heart and be saved. How long will you harbor wicked thoughts? So, why is that important? Before we had emotional intelligence, before we had psychologists and sociologists, before we had any of those things, the Bible was already making a correlation between harboring bad thoughts and holding evil in our heart. Okay, so the heart is what pumps the blood. And we just read that when you are angered, your heart rate increases. Okay. And we know that having an increased heart rate over time leads to hypertension, which is something that a lot of people in underprivileged, underserved communities struggle with. Hypertension over time leads to stroke, which is something experienced predominantly in those same communities. It also can lead to cardiac infarctions or a heart attack. So, knowing that holding on to anger and holding on to grief and holding on to sorrow and holding on to other emotions like that can lead to a heart attack, and that the Bible was already talking about this more than 2,000 years ago. There is a purpose in reading the Bible. There is a purpose in following the word of God. There is a definite purpose in spiritual growth. Okay, it helps you physically, it will help you emotionally, it will help you in all of the 10 dimensions of health. So thank you for tuning in to today's um, learning session. And please feel free to leave any comments or suggestions in the comment section. If you would like to have an individual session with me, feel free to reach out to me in the DM. You can text message me at 216 309 1178. If you're not aware, I am providing mental and behavioral health services. If you have Medicaid or Medicaid eligible, make sure you reach out to me to learn how you can get these services for free of charge. All right. And be the peace, the love, and the light, and the change that you would like to see. Peace, love, and light.